For 25 years, the internet had a single currency. The click, you searched, you saw 10 blue links, and you clicked again. The transaction built empires. It built Google. It was built by Amazon. But the era ended this morning, and you didn't notice. We are entering the age of the zero-click internet. People aren't searching anymore. They're asking. And the machines aren't giving them a list of websites. They're giving them a direct answer. The middleman, your website, is being cut out of the deal. Today, we have Eric Post, CEO and founder of Huzi AI. We are tearing down the new laws of digital survival. SEO, AEO, GEO. If you don't know those acronyms, your business is already invisible. What are most people still playing, I think, is these 2015 rules. They think that keywords and backlinks are the holy grail, but the alphabet soup just got much more complicated. We have SEO, which we all know, search engine optimization. But now we have AEO, which is answer engine optimization, and GEO, which is generative engine optimization. To the uninitiated, this sounds like marketing jargon, but the distinction is actually life or death for a brand, for a company, for a business. Can you explain to us mere mortals around here, the difference between SEO, AEO, and GEO? Because most of us probably don't even know.
Yeah, man. First of all, this is such a great topic because I feel that although it's can be overwhelming to learn something new, this is this new leveling of the playing field that every small business owner should just be cheering for. Although it's, I got to learn something new and do something new and implement a new strategy. But holy moly, this is like when the internet first started and the opportunity to rank and get free like traffic to your site, and there's no space yet and competition for paid ads yet. It's all organic, which is a race that anybody can win. And so, we're talking about these acronyms, but really what I'm hearing is opportunity. When we say this, when we say AEO, SEO, GEO, or not SEO, GEO, that's opportunity right now for free traffic, good leads, connection to the right customer. So, just at the top of this conversation, man, this is like an opportunistic conversation. This isn't like, oh God, I got to learn something new, and here we go again. So, you want to start with like definitions and what these things are, and make sure we're all on the same.
That would be great. Yeah. If we could kind of define what they are and how they're used.
Okay. So to be clear, the reason why this is important is because simply the traffic is changing. People are not going to Google as often. They're going to the middleman being defined by Gemini, the summary at the top of your Google link, or they're going to ChatGPT, or they're going to Perplexity. These are resulting in a completely different kind of consumer interaction online than going to Google, typing in a quick search, getting 10 blue links, and then searching for what you want. The AI middleman is absolutely providing frictionless access directly to the information the consumer is looking for, so they don't have to go through, sort the blue links, click through the website, look through your site, try to find the information, try to click. Like, it's just instant frictionless access. The problem is, with Google as no longer the gatekeeper, AI being the new middleman, you have to have a different strategy. So AEO is answer engine optimization. GEO is generation engine optimization. And people are using those as kind of like, overlapping terminology. They really are two different strategies, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And then SEO is obviously search engine optimization, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Search engine optimization was for Google, for Bing and whatnot, when the internet was a place of search. AEO, GEO is now the new strategy to get found online by the middleman suggesting you. Like, how do we turn ChatGPT into your salesperson? Right? How do we turn Perplexity into the thing that talks about you in a certain way? How do you get it to talk to you about you in a certain way, your company, your service, your products in a certain way? How does it talk about you at all? How does it find you, right? Those sorts of things. So it's just a different world, man, when we have to realize that the clicks are dying. And this is an era, if anybody has heard the term now of zero-click searches, that's what an AI interaction is like. Okay, so 93% of AI interactions do not result in a click through to your website or to a website at all. So it's really important to understand that, like it was important to kind of get yourself ranked on the first page of Google. That was like the whole thing. How do you get ranked on the first page? Because the second page, the stats, you're an SEO guy. Like, it went down by like 90% that they're going to find you. And then it went down by like 95% on the third page. And if you're on the fourth page, you're not going to get seen at all, hardly. Same thing here. If you're not getting surfaced up in the conversations with the AI, it's just like being on the third or fourth page of Google these days. You're invisible, right?
Yeah.
So we got to get them to talk about you. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I think the scariest part is that there's this, like, with AEO, you feel like there's only one winner, but Google gives you 10 spots on the first page. ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever just gives you one answer. And whether or not you decide to follow up on that question, get a second answer, it's kind of up to you. So it's like a winner takes all market. And if you aren't cited in terms of sources, you don't necessarily exist either. And that's another thing that it's just like another layer of optimization that you have to think about. It just seems to the average consumer, to the average business owner that is trying to make it out there in the world, it seems like a rather arduous challenge to be able to figure out this new thing and how am I going to be able to do this new thing. How has like the rise in essence of AI assistants and chatbots specifically for this use case changed the way that we need to think about search engine optimization, both as an end consumer so that we are aware, but also as the business owner or the salesperson that is trying to position their product and service in front of you?
So the citation economy is different than the search economy. So being mentioned by AI is worth a lot more than by being ranked in a list of links by Google. So think about it this way, right? And this is a new analogy, I'm just making this up on the spot here, buddy, but you know how in the local supermarkets or local barbershops or something like that, you've got those pin boards with everybody's got their business cards on there and you can go look at that, right? Think about that being like a Google, where you're just like on this pin board with everybody else being mentioned, and think about the AI as if you ask somebody for a referral and then somebody says, oh, you got to call Mo, man. He's the best, and here's why he's the best. That's like the AI recommendation versus being on the pin board with all the other people, right? So it's a much more powerful way of getting directly to the right lead, and then it's a much more powerful transition from that conversation to communicating with you. So you don't have to say, oh my God, I was getting 10,000, visits from Google. Maybe you don't need, but maybe 1,000 recommendations. Maybe it's a 10x to 1 like reduction in the amount of conversations you have, because the quality of the people is not about links. You're not optimizing for keywords and backlinks. You're optimizing for relevancy. You're optimizing for trust. So Google trusted backlinks. AI trusts clarity and accuracy, right? And relevancy and context. So if your customer's having a nuanced conversation about something online that's important to eventually their decision-making process, it's upstream of the decision-making process, that's a much better placement than being all the way downstream and they're saying, who is the best mortgage broker in Wesleyan, Oregon? Now you're just competing on price, commodity, or whatever. But if you've been part of the conversation with the AI up front, because it says, oh, well, according to Mo Naboulsi, when you do get an FHA loan, blah, 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 right? And they cite you as a source, you are now a trusted authority, substantially different than just being searched up on the internet.
That makes sense. It's kind of like low cost per acquisition versus a high cost per acquisition. So you're putting in terms of like dollars and cents, this could be the equivalent of putting in $1, getting in 10 versus putting in 10 and only getting $1.
Yeah,
right?
You could look at it that way. Okay, so another way, like the conversion funnel is different the way I look at it. So traditional marketing has been awareness, then consideration, then conversion.
Yep.
Right? AI marketing is conversation, recommend, and trust. The dialogue is the funnel now.
That's much different.
It's much different, right? And so it's more like an expertise paradox than it is a backlink keyword sort of like challenge. So writing like an expert, and putting out content that matters is the strategy, not the most backlinks. In fact, we should probably even talk about like transition from from social media, as well. The traffic's changing in social media as well, man. But to be clear, AEO and GEO are two different things. So being part of the answer and being sourced in the generation are two different things. So the answer would be like, who is the best barber, in Canby, Oregon? And it says, oh, well, you should go to these 3 because it looks on Google, they have these reviews and blah, 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 and it gives 3 recommendations. Versus like, I just moved into town, I feel like the water's hard and my hair feels weird and blah, 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 right? Like before they even pick a barber. And this is a really horrible example, to be honest with you. But trying to think like of new things off the top instead of just going back to real estate or service industries all the time. Point is that people need to maximize for the life triggers that happen that they need you, not just the selection process.
Okay.
Okay. So most companies that are teaching AEO strategies are just preying on your ego, and industries that think my customer is going to ChatGPT and asking to find me, asking to find the best person about this thing. No. They're going there to ask ChatGPT all of the questions they would have normally asked you at the first of this relationship. Okay, so give me an industry example, Mo. Do you want to talk about like financial services or something like that? Like let's talk about
real estate. Yeah, it tends to be the market.
So if an AEO expert or a monitoring tool is teaching you, oh, we're going to monitor and help you rank for the top 5 real estate, in your area or in your niche or whatever, they're missing the entire point. They're thinking like the industry. They're not thinking like the consumer. The consumer is not going to ChatGPT and saying right off the bat, oh my God, I have a problem or a thought about real estate. I want to find out who to talk to. They're having the conversation with the AI, not the person. So they're going to ChatGPT and say, I'm thinking about moving. Is now a good time to sell? What's the market like in Beaverton, Oregon? How's the unemployment rate? Do they have good schools? They're asking all of the questions to the AI that they would normally have asked the expert. So your challenge then is to understand what are those upstream triggers of selection, what are the life triggers that happen, and then what are the friction points that happen before the selection process. And that's how you maximize your content creation for. So the AI cite you as the source, and they're just not citing like a response. They're going, oh, well, I'm going to serve up Mo Naboulsi because he knows exactly what's happening in Canby, Oregon, and here's what he says about it, right? So it's hyper relevant sort of life triggers, upstream triggers is the content creation strategy, more than just like how do I become the mentioned as the top 5 agents in Canby, Oregon. You're too late. That's the wrong strategy. It's too far downstream. In real estate, Mo, that would be like the real estate industry handed over all of its information to Zillow and let Zillow get upstream of it, and then they just waited for the leads being sold back to them. It's kind of the same strategy, right? If you're talking about real estate in general.
Yeah, this is really pre-Google. Like this is jumping on when Google launched in 98, 99, or pre-Facebook in 2008. Really gives you an opportunity to just jumpstart your career or your visibility or your reach because it's completely different. I don't want to sidestep too much, but you did mention something about social that I thought was interesting because you're absolutely right. Not all social platforms yet, but specifically LinkedIn and Twitter or X, they're starting to penalize having external links on their posts. So if you post a link to your website on LinkedIn or X, the algorithm just throttles that reach. They want to keep users on the app. And Instagram is going to follow suit. YouTube is going to follow suit, I'm sure, which birthed this like zero-click content. Because now you have to tell the whole story on LinkedIn. You have to tell the whole story on Twitter or X, right? And if they ask for a click, nobody really sees it. The idea is to build this narrative around this particular tool, around your business utilizing this particular tool so that it stays within the ecosystem. So how does referral traffic then work in terms from social media to websites? Well, it doesn't. It's collapsing. Almost everyone that has, except huge viral outliers, you can't really rent their audience anymore, and it's going to be more and more prevalent, which is taking us back to full circle, why this is so important, what you're talking about today.
Even social media has changed in the same way. So we went from social media to interest media, right? Like sort of thing, the way Vanderchuck says. And now I think it's gone further. Now it's attention media. It's not value media. Generally, it's attention media.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got this third phase. Why has that happened? Well, I mean, deeply philosophically, you can just look at the attention span of the consumer and what's happened going from all the way back from radio to TV to the internet to social media to TikTok, so on and so forth. We've got goldfish attention spans now, right? On top of that, it's noisy. We went from 14 channels on the radio, to 28 channels to 128 channels on TV to infinite channels to infinite, channels on social media, right? So the noise has increased, and so we just sort through the noise so quickly. Speaking of noise, was more like a billboard on the highway and AEO is more like the recommendation from your friend. So,
Yep.
which is a much better game to be played. How do I get recommended by friends instead of how do I just put my name? How do I just get my name there? Right, like SEO is. So the social media transition is following the same thing because algorithms have realized that they actually don't even really care about followers anymore. They care about time on page and time on the reel.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter if you've got 300,000 followers or 3,000 followers, your viral chances are equally good now on TikTok and Instagram for a single reel, one at a time. Secondarily, though, if you have a tight AEO, GEO strategy that's good, like I was talking about earlier, understanding the conversations worth having, that now informs your social media strategy. Whereas people before had a separate social media strategy than they did their SEO strategy. Those were two different things. You had backlinks, keywords, so on and so forth, to rank for things. And your social media strategy was more personality-based, educational, those sorts of things. That's changed now. I think your social media strategy and your AEO, GEO strategy should be identical.
Yeah, and you can see that now. It's prevalent. If you're posting on TikTok or Instagram, those two platforms specifically, I want to take YouTube out of the equation because they're in cahoots with Google. Anyone doesn't know, they're owned by Google. But TikTok and Instagram, if I'm looking up a recipe, like chicken parmesan recipe, 30-minute recipe.
That sounds good, by the way.
Delicious. One of my favorite meals. 9 times out of 10, within the first, outside of the AEO, GEO, Gemini summarization, you're going to see TikTok video clips that you can just click, won't take you externally to, unless you choose to, it'll just pop up like a window, like you're opening up an image within Google. And now you can look at the recipe, you can click it. So it's insane because that is happening now. And I think it's going to just kind of spiral. But it also begs the question, if that's the case and it's being crawled and it's being backlinked from that, is that AEO and GEO or is that SEO from their own platform directing? I'm asking not to be such a technical question, more of like, should that be a focus of people that are trying to be more present? Should they focus on, you think, in your experience, those two platforms because they're just being loved so much by the AEOs of the world?
Okay, we'll talk about OpenAI has a big investment partner by who? By Microsoft.
Yep.
Okay. Microsoft owns what search engine? Bing, right? Mm-hmm. So naturally, all of the agentic browsers that come from OpenAI don't open the browser and use Google. They use Bing, as an example.
Yep.
So a lot of the data is coming from the Microsoft suite of things and from Bing sort of things. Gemini is maximized towards Google, obviously, and YouTube. Grok, XAI is obviously maximized towards the data coming from X. Mm-hmm. So there is a sourcing thing as well. They do cross-pollinate, right? Absolutely, OpenAI sources, from Google and so on and so forth, and uses Google. But just think fundamentally where the data is coming from too. So there's a strategy kind of within a strategy in terms of like where you post and how you post to help rank on the LLMs that matter to you. Let's talk about what LLMs actually should matter to you as a business owner. Let's be clear about that.
That'd be great. Yeah.
For consumer traffic, almost all of the consumer type traffic is on the 5 big ones. Is on Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok, X, and Claude, like last sort of thing, right? Like those last two are kind of the last for consumer sort of conversations in terms of traffic. We know traffic. We know average weekly users. So if you're going to really focus on your strategy, you're going to really want to focus on Gemini and ChatGPT, then Perplexity, and then you go down to Claude or Grok, depending on what your niche is. That's where I'd focus my strategy on because that's where all the consumer traffic is going now. 70% of all traffic on ChatGPT right now is actually personal conversations. They're not business conversations, just so you know, which was a kind of a shocking trend to a lot of people. Most people assume people are using ChatGPT for work sort of things, when 70% of the queries and conversations are having actually personal sort of conversations. Like, I'm thinking about buying a house. I have a relationship problem. Where do I go on vacation? They're that sort of conversations for the consumer traffic.
I can see that. Yeah.
So did I answer your question, buddy? I want to make sure I answer
Yeah,
it.
no, totally, 1000%. Quick question adjacent. Since Perplexity is utilizing, aren't they using Open AI's?
They are. They have their own model now too. But
Oh,
yeah,
they have their own model. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
With it.
it is beneficial to really focus on those three big LLMs for AEO.
For right now, in terms
Yeah,
of the recording
yeah,
this on the 7th
yeah,
of
yeah,
January, yes,
yeah.
that is a good, accurate response. We'll see how that changes over time. We'll see what happens to OpenAI this year, but
Cool.
yes,
I do want to shifting gears a little bit since we kind of talked a little bit about AEO. Let's talk about what GEO is, the generative engine optimization, which is its twin brother or sister. So what I find is that when AI generates a summary, it's synthesizing that information, correct? Where it's getting that information is, I have no idea. It could be fairies, right? Most people don't know. Is it Google? Is it Bing? Is it the interwebs? Is it social media? Whatever. It's figuring out. It's cooking a meal. I don't want to know. What I want to know is if your brand, if you want to infuse your brand as that specific main ingredient in that dish of generative engine optimization, then how do you position yourself so that you are the thing that their people are choosing? And the second question is, if there's no real click-through rate and the user never leaves the chat window, how do you even optimize for that? You know what I mean?
So AEO again is about being the selected answer from the existing context, whatever the conversation is.
Yeah.
And GEO is being part of the synthesis, one of many sources that are part of the answer, when somebody's asked. So AEO is like, I'm thinking about selling my house. Who should I use? That's AEO. I'm thinking about selling my house. I live in Oregon. Is that a probate state? And then
Yep.
you're being sourced as one of the sources. And according to Mo, like, yes, and here's link to this website. That's GEO. Those are two different sorts of strategies.
So that's
Okay.
probably the biggest misconception people are having about the two, sounds like.
For sure, for sure. And they're thinking of them as the same thing, and they're really not. Those are two different conversations. Think about two people talking in the store, and one says, "Oh my God, I'm thinking about selling my house, and is Beaverton a good place to live?" And Chad, who's talking, says, "Yeah, it's a great place to live, and in fact, I used an agent, and they really helped me, and that was really helpful." Right? That's conversation one. The second conversation is, "I'm thinking about selling my house. Who should I use?" Right? There's two. See how those? It's seems like a small nuance, but it's not. It's completely different strategy, completely different conversation.
It is, because it's like you're talking generally. I would say the first strategy is me just doing like a standard Google search. And the second would be calling up someone that I trust
Yeah.
that actually gives me a direct referral or you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I see what you're, yeah.
And it's not a mystery. So, for instance, I'm building a piece of software called Halo that actually does this for people and helps them think about it, helps them strategize, help them write content, helps them monitor across the 5
Wow.
LLMs. And the reason why I'm doing that is because there can be a strategy from understanding if you monitor the conversations that are important to you daily across all of the LLMs, and you're having an AI do that for you, surface it up, then it will tell you what the answers are being given by the AIs, what sources are being cited as a result of those answers, what competitors are being mentioned if it's not you, and then what's the sentiment that's being talked about just in general. And when you track those things over time, then you can develop a perfect strategy. Oh, well, when ChatGPT is talking about buying a house in Canby, it generally loves like Reddit/Canby or Zillow.com or whatever it is. Like you'll see over time, oh, wait, if I want to be mentioned there too, I need to be part of the conversations on those platforms. So that becomes part of your strategy, is going and posting there, having your profile updated there, like making content that wraps around these questions, right? So when you know what the AIs are talking about, you know what the sources that they're using to be being cited, you know what your competitors are saying to be cited, then you know how to game the system so you can be the one that's recommended instead.
It sounds like a hybrid between Answer the Public, which is an SEO, AEO, GEO thing by Neil Patel, meets social media, meets SEO, meets Bing, meets content creator assistant. It sounds like a full one-stop shop. How would I benefit as roofing contractor? That has maybe like 3 guys, small business. We do about 3 to 4 million a year in annual revenue. would that be beneficial for me to make sure that people find me more often than maybe my competitor that is doing just a little bit better?
Oh, well, yeah, especially in roofing because the size of your ticket's so large. You know, it's not just a $49 thing or a $20 lunch or sandwich, right? It's a big ticket item. So every lead that you miss in that example is a massive $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, right? It's a big freaking deal. So, you know, what do people talk about in roofing before they say, I have a roof leak, I need a new roofer? They talk about the different types of roofing. They talk about what's allowed in their CCNRs. You know, they talk about the average cost of price per square foot. They talk about the looks, the styles. They have a lot of conversation before they go, I just need a roofer. Those are all things that a roofer can answer better than just training data inside of ChatGPT. So if a consumer is asking questions like that, and the AI is going to use a couple sources. Let's be clear about how the AI generates an answer. Let's talk about that. The AI has your training data. The training data is tapped by what your inference is, by what your question is. So when you type in a question and you're interacting with an AI, that's called inference. So that takes an amount of compute. They use the training data as a result to give the answer. That training data may be supplemented by one, whatever your version of ChatGPT is. So how have you trained it? What are your custom instructions and so on and so forth? That will affect how it uses the training data and how it talks to you. Then are you asking it to go online, or did it go online to find supplement resources to infuse what it found online with the training data to generate the answer to you? Or two, did it just go to a specific place and just regurgitate what it found on this website for you? It's kind of the third way. Right? When you ask AI a question, you got to kind of understand what is it doing and how is it getting the answer. It's getting the answer by either just giving you the token generation out of its training data. Maybe it's going online and giving you a combination of the two, or maybe it's just citing an actual information it found from specific sources and giving that to you without giving you the actual website. It just gives you the answer it got from the website, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was wondering what the biggest mistake in the line of work that you see, because you have so much, you have your hands kind of all over the place in terms of like what kind of businesses you work with. You tend to have an idea and, you know, and a real world value when it comes to what these companies are trying to do. So in your specific opinion, what's the biggest mistake that you see companies making when they first try to optimize for AI engines?
Well, the first mistake is honestly not enough people are thinking about this right yet. Like now it's like, it's like, holy moly, you can't underestimate this opportunity to carve out this digital landscape for yourself. This is a new piece of real estate in the digital world that you can carve out and claim as kind of your own. There is a real first mover advantage for sure. And the more you get started creating content around the pillars that matter for your upstream sort of conversations like we were talking about earlier, the more that you have that cited, matured, and continue to grow, that then we can talk about the importance of also getting cross collaboration from other real human beings. And we should talk about the dead internet theory a little bit. That's the first thing. So carve out the digital landscape. First thing is that. Second of all is just going right to the answer engine. There's too many coaches and gurus out there that's like talking about just going right to like, how do you get ranked as the top roofer or the top real estate agent? That is not the whole strategy. That's 1/3 of the strategy. In fact, that's the least important, because consumers generally don't get there if that's all you're maximizing for, because they've had these other conversations ahead of time. And those companies that have been a part of that conversation ahead of time have already beat you to the punch. They're already part of the conversation. You're not there. You're just optimizing, thinking like they're just searching for you. They're not. And to be clear, customers do want you. They just don't want you any earlier than they absolutely need you to.
Yeah.
Right? This isn't like people just saying, "No, I never want a realtor again," or whatever. No, they do. They just want really quick, instant, immediate, good quality, frictionless access to the information first before they got to call anybody. Right? So give that to them. If that's what the consumer is demanding, then that's what the consumer is demanding. We can't like stomp our feet and say, "No, I don't want to do business that way." The consumers are moving there in droves. 800 million weekly active users are on ChatGPT now. This is not just a quick little thing that just is just going away. This is the direction. You got to go where the puck is going. You got to skate there. So those are the first two things. Is not doing it all, and second of all is only maximizing towards being a part of the answer and selection when you got to be part of the conversation before the selection. Those are two things.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that the overall strategy for becoming known, we're humans. It's always going to be the same. It's just the specific tool, the playing field that you're utilizing is going to change. That's always going to change. So just the fact that you're having to now jump on this new thing does not take away from the fact that people will work with you if they like you, they value you, they trust you, period. That's it. It's just, this is now the place where you can actually be present in those conversations.
In fact, in the last 5 to 10 years, the concept of being known, liked, and trusted results in business is not even true anymore. People do business all the time with people they don't know, like, or trust yet. They they ran into them out of convenience. They were referred to them, they had a conversation, and then the relationship developed as a result of the business relationship, not the relationship caused the business. You can see every trend, every single trend where it was the relationship builder was the top sort of salesperson. That the relationship builder was the top quartile. They built the relationships, no liked and trusted, and then that's how they became the top producer. That is not true at all anymore. In fact, if you read the Challenger sale, it's the Challenger approach, and then the relationship develops as a result of having the business relationship over time. It's inverting now, right? So you talk about the convenience economy, if since we're talking about real estate, I bet every single realtor is ever listening to this has an experience where somebody that they thought knew, liked, and trusted them used another realtor, right? Because they met them because they were at the soccer game. Their friends, their kid's friend's mom was a realtor. They started talking, there, and they started showing houses, and boom, they bought a house from them, and not the friend that they knew were in real estate for 20 years. Happens every single day to every single business. So is it important to be likable? 100%. Is it important to be trusted? Absolutely. But it's more important to be known.
Yes. I agree with you there. I think it is more important to be known. 1,000%. I just think in the long game, and this is just my own opinion, that being ethical, trusted, honorable, those are the things that are going to give you longevity in business. But
let's just say that those are table stakes, though.
Okay. All right.
I agree 100%. I'm all on that train, Mo. Those are the table stakes. Yeah. That's how you actually build a business over time when you get repeat business, referral business, and whatever. Yeah. I'm talking about the initial business is not the game of being liked anymore. It's the game of being valued. We have to grab the attention, and they have to provide more value and not get them to agree or disagree with you. Get them to say, oh my God, I never thought about it that way before. Eric really gets me. So what's happening here, because knowledge is literally free now, right? Knowledge is literally free. GPT 5.2, Claude Sonnet 4.5, Gemini 3, all these biggest frontier models are smarter than almost every single person that listens to this podcast now in any one niche. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not saying no. They hallucinate. They say dumb things. They do dumb things. Like I'm not pro AI in this moment. I'm just saying the knowledge that comes out of a current day LLM probably knows more than 99% of realtors that are listening to it, right? However, it does not have any of the expertise. It does not have any of the humanity. It cannot understand the consumer. It can just answer questions. So the shift now has to go from knowledge worker to wisdom worker. It can no longer be, oh my God, Mo knows so much about the market in Beaverton because so does ChatGPT. What they have to get from you now is like, oh my God, Mo really understands us. He can really guide us through this process. And ChatGPT can't. ChatGPT can answer every fucking answer instantly, really high quality, with lots of research, more comprehensively than probably anyone expert in their marketplace. But it cannot guide them through the process like a human can. That's the shift. So competing on knowledge, like I know a lot about the market, I know a lot about this data, I know a lot about rates, I know a lot about loans, I know a lot about 401ks, I know a lot about roofing, is no longer the thing that's interesting to the consumer. Okay. You got to shift it to like, oh my God, like he really understands that my house is in this HOA and has this thing and we hate this and we love this color and it's this aesthetic. They have to go there. because AI can do the perfect thing, but it can't do the human thing. We have a weird thing in our brains where we think that whatever's happening now is the thing that's going to be happening for a long time. We have a hard time imagining a world that isn't current reality. So if you're on a really bad day or really bad way, it's hard to imagine anything else, right? If you're in a really good way, it's hard to imagine anything else. It's hard to imagine something different than what you're currently experiencing. I want to recognize that. However, there's now AI agents that have sold hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate with hardly any human interaction. Okay, so this is not a thing that's a maybe, or I know ChatGPT can't even tell you how many R's are in a strawberry, in the word strawberry, and if I say it's the 26th today, what day is it tomorrow, and it says it's the 27th, and I can say no, it's the 29th, I can convince it to thinking it's the 29th. Like, people are thinking that because you can trick AI that way that it's dumb. It's not. It's because you're being dumb with it. You're misunderstanding what it is actually used for. Of course, you can trick anybody like that. You can trick the system like that. That's not the intended purpose of it. Again, we talked about before, it's a plausible machine. It's not a fact machine, right? So a lot of what's working on, and by the way, these new models, they're building in these recursive loops. So as of today, buddy, I was reading some of these studies, you can now turn some of the AI agents loose for 24, 48 hours, and it's in a recursive loop with enough of monitoring that in, what country is it? They just let it loose to start prescribing medicine, prescriptions. So it's not like what we think of as a consumer when you're using just Gemini and it gives you a stupid answer and you're like, see, AI doesn't know what it's talking about. That's not the whole market. That's not the whole economy.
China, they have AI doctors right now in China. They're starting to roll out.
Dude, you sent me that article about that. 100%. My friend has a company like that. Like, there's another state they're using AI to do all the prescriptions, right? Mm-hmm. So what we're saying is, when we're digging our heels and say, yeah, but it won't do that yet, that's us kind of denying, because we want to protect our territory. And I'm just saying, go claim your new territory. Like, claim that, baby. Like, claim that. There's a space for people in all of this. There's a space for the best of the best in all of this. It's just not the territory that you've once carved out for yourself. That's all.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And I think if you figure it out, this new game, it's going to be easier to scale because of what you have at your disposal. You can build an AI agent that becomes your assistant, that does this, that does that. Where you need help, you can minimize the amount of humans that are doing those specific tasks, which in 5 years, in 2 years, and whatever, that's insane. I do want to touch on, before we get to the closing here, the funny stuff, the stuff that can scare some people.
Yeah.
I used to think this was like conspiracy tinfoil hat stuff, but this dead internet theory is interesting. You go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, and you see these bizarre AI generated images. I think the other day I saw like a shrimp made out of Jesus.
Okay,
that was weird. That was really weird. And it had like 400,000 or 500,000 likes. And then you go in the comments. This is what blows my mind. You go in the comments and you're like, oh, you were like, amen, amen, beautiful. This is amazing. Oh my God. Dude, we're stuck in a simulation and it's glitching. It is glitching out. People are losing it. How many of us are noticing that like this is happening? And the ones that are already sucked in are lost. It's like the Matrix. The ones that are still out of it, they're out of those container tubes, whatever, and are in the real world. And then you've got those are just plugged right in. And the people in those comments are the ones that are just plugged in. Like, what percentage of those people feel that internet traffic is just bots talking to them, generating revenue? The other ones is they can't even tell the difference. I mean, we touched on this with the synthetic affection and love conversation on our last talk. It's just, it's mind boggling.
Yeah. Like the shrimp, I'm making an image of a shrimp that looks like Jesus right now, just because that's such an odd image to me. I have to make one of my own just to see what that even looks like.
I should have sent it to you.
I'm generating it right now. And Huzi, oh God, here it comes. It's going to look funny. The skills that we've had, or that anybody that's listening to this has had to get to this point in their career, aren't obsolete. They're just the foundation for the next step. Mm. Okay. So, it's okay to feel like confused. It's okay to feel like, oh, I hate this. It's okay to be like, you want to ignore it and get it. Like, that's okay. But just realize that everything that you've known and you built up to that point does not make you a dinosaur. does not make you obsolete anymore. It's the foundation for the next thing. So whatever skills that you did learn to post on social media is just the skills you need to transform. Just don't keep using it. The skills that you did learn for SEO is the skills that you need to transform. You just have to build upon those. In fact, SEO is still the foundation of a good AEO, GEO strategy. So the better your SEO is, the better of a chance you have of actually understanding AEO and GEO. These are skills that you can build upon, not have to wipe clean, right? So, by the way, this shrimp Jesus thing is hilarious. It's freaking so weird. It is so weird. The fact that I can just make that like that and look at it is, I'll send this to you here. Is just,
you need to. I want to see this.
is just so weird. Okay, so that is the good and bad part about AI. It's like whatever you can think of is what you can make today.
Yeah.
You know, and so some people are just weird. They make weird stuff, or they think of weird stuff. But at least they have taste or a point of view, you know, and AI does not.
Sorry.
Right? Did you see the shrimp Jesus I just sent you?
Yeah, I did.
It's shrimp Jesus. Like, why did somebody make that? I don't know. But AI wouldn't make that on its own.
Oh my gosh.
You know, a person thought of that to make it. Like, there's no shrimp Jesus in the training data, right? That's that human weirdness and creativity, and we might even call it, you know, something like that. You know, is a feature, not a bug, of humanity.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's a feature, not a bug, and so is hallucinations is a feature, not a bug, of LLMs. Right? People are trying to fix the hallucination problem inside of these LLMs when really, truly, the way I see it, it's not a bug. It's a feature. It's part of it. It's part of the technology. It's part of what creativity actually is. And since LLMs generate words, you're going to get some creative words sometimes, right?
Very creative words.
So are our words. The cow jumped over the moon is not real, but we say it all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, like we just tricked ourselves into thinking, oh, because we say it, it's okay. You know, it's creative or poetic. But when an AI says it, it's dumb or hallucinating. So that's part of the issue. But your skills to be searched up by LLMs, by ChatGPT and whatnot, is predicated on how sure you are of your own expertise. So if somebody is trying to be a generalist, they're not going to have a really good time. Just in the same way they weren't. It's really hard to be SEO, you know, be found for SEO if you're trying to do everything to everybody, right? So now more than ever, the riches really are in the niches, man. You know, when the internet's so noisy, social media is so noisy. Yesterday I went for a minute and I just scrolled and I was just looking at just this. I was just observing. I was looking at the opening hook and then maybe the second sentence of these one after another. It is just a fire hose of buy from me, trust me, buy my course, look at me. It's just a fucking fire hose. So how do you compete in that world? You compete by being very specific about who you are, what you are, and ignoring all the rest of it. You cannot be everything.
That's why it always takes me back to our conversation about Ultra Carbon. The guy gets into this new suit or skin, and just to see what the day-to-day is, there's just holograms of ads, literally just as you're walking in the streets.
Yeah.
Buy this, check this out, upgrade this, and crazy, bizarre things. And I feel like we're there. It's just, it's not a hologram yet. You know, it will be at some point. It's going to be wherever we're walking around. I mean, they have their phone embedded into their hand or their wrist or whatever. And when they get a call, they press a little thing on their ear and it pops up and here you are, and they have privacy mode. It's crazy to me. You were saying if a person can imagine it, then it can become real. Anyways, I thought that was
CES is happening like right now, right? Like
CES, yeah.
So I was looking at some of the stuff and announcements of kind of tech that's coming out of that. You know, they've got TV screens that are size of a human. They're thin, like an ultra thin screen, but it looks like a hologram.
LG wallpaper TVs. They've been out. Those have been out for a while. They were just insane. Like they were when they first came out for like 42 inch. I think it was like 15 grand or something. And they obviously market whatever, but yeah, those are really cool looking.
I remember back in the day, I bought a 67-inch DLP TV that was like, I don't remember if it was 4K or not, but whatever the cutting edge, I spent 14 grand on this thing.
Yeah, that's
You
just,
know?
yeah, that's insane.
I know you can buy a 65-inch OLED, for $599, at Walmart,
Mhm.
right? So,
Yeah.
and the same thing is happening with chips, and the same thing is happening with compute. So if cost for compute right now is, let's say it's $12 or $15, for 1 million tokens in output, that's going to go to half of that next year. I bet.
Yeah.
People are saying the opposite of that. People are saying it's going
Graphics
to
cards
double.
are going up. Graphics cards are going up in cost. NVIDIA specifically.
They are, but there's now new companies that are building their own chips, and they're not like NVIDIA is going to have an interesting year this year.
They are, yeah. I mean, same with phones. Like Samsung's developing their own chips. They're moving away from Qualcomm and forget the other. Because they have two variations, one for international, one for U.S. based. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's good. These little facts that are great. But back to AEO, GEO, really what we're talking about though isn't AEO, GEO. We're really talking about being known in today's economy. How do you be known in today's economy? And so I kind of transition the idea of this technical thing of AEO to I want to be known. So how do I be known? Oh, I bring value and expertise to particular problems that solve for a particular subset of the population. That's my client. It's truly that simple. Then once you go, okay, now I'm clear about that. Then it goes, okay, I need a strategy for where do I post? How do I post it? And what do I say? That's what a software like Halo is meant to do, is trying to demystify that part of it, to bring it up, makes it visible, shows you exactly what's happening, gives you steps of exactly what to do next, and then it makes the whole thing much, much more simple. And buddy, I'll even go farther though, say, I know lots of businesses that are successful that don't have a single social media page. They don't have a website.
Yeah.
Right? It's a big analog world too.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
So I sell products, I'm selling Halo, I've got AEO. This is important to know, but the most important thing is being really valuable to real people. And, AI is a strategy for that, and Halo, is a strategy for that. But if you're a shit person with a shit business with a shit product, it's not going to work for you. So,
yeah, for sure. 1,000%. All right. I'm going to get it out of here, but I want to jump into our rapid fire questions. The first one's kind of funny. Would you? I think it's funny because I would
Shrimp
do it.
Jesus? Is that
No.
okay?
Shrimp Jesus? No. When robots like maid robots and house robots become really prevalent, would you jump into it? Would you buy a house robot that does chores and stuff like that?
Well,
not an early adopter. I'm saying they've been to market for a while.
I know.
Most of the bugs have been taken out of them.
I'm on a wait list for a couple. I can't remember the name. I was trying to remember the names of them, but it's been a minute since I've signed up.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I just figured that you would.
Yeah, I'm on a couple of the wait lists for them. I'm so mixed on it, dude. I want to hug a freaking tree. I want to be barefoot in the grass. You know what I mean? I go hang out with just people unplugged with no phones around a campfire. At the same time, I don't love dusting and vacuuming.
Yep.
Right. And
yeah.
I mean, we already have a Roomba, right? That has a camera in it that's recording stuff that maps out your house, so I've kind of already opted into that part of it. If you got a Roomba, if you got a Nest, if you got an Alexa, if you got a Ring camera, you already opted into AI surveillance in your house.
Yeah.
For sure. If you have a phone, you've already opted into AI surveillance in your house. So I'm just torn because I want to stay in this analog world, but I do love my free time. And if I can get leverage from a bot in that way that does some of the drudgery of life, and I get to do it when I want, like if I want to go pick the weeds, I can pick the weeds, but if I don't have to, I'm not a slave to the yard. That sounds like a pretty good trade-off for me. So
I'd have to agree, sir.
what about you? Yeah. Are you going to?
I would say my stance is almost identical to yours. I want to stay analog. At some point, I always tell, I say this out loud, to my friends and my family. I said, one day I want to erase my entire digital existence. I don't want to be fucking found. I want to go just unplug. But again, at the same time, like I do like my freedom, and I don't want to have to deal with monotonous chores if I don't have to, especially days where I'm busy. I'm like, oh my God, I have to prep this, I have to do this, I have to do that. You know, being able to have choices, that's the thing. That's what makes you want to go, fuck, do I really want to jump into this thing? But so yeah. But also I've watched iRobot like 5 times, so there's that.
I know, dude. It's so weird. I was watching some CS videos of like people boxing robots and stuff, you know. And,
Yeah, they see that Russian boxer that was fighting with that robot, and it went horribly wrong.
yeah. I did. And you know, like just knowing that in order for all the tests, like they have to detune the strength so dramatically of the robots because they could just knock you over like on accident. They just bump you in the hallway and that kind of thing. That's that's like what happens if they just don't want to detune them, you know? Like, so I don't know, man. I'm laughing about it because I'm just nervous. I don't know what that world looks like. All I know is that we've already opted in. We've already passed the threshold of whether it's coming or not. And so I just got to be more prepared. Like, how do I want to handle my humanity, my family's humanity? You know, how do I ensure I stay grounded? That sort of stuff. So it's not like, do I want to fight the future? It's like, how do I float with it, you know, and survive?
Yeah, it's alarming and confusing and questionable all at the same time. I do have an interesting question for you. True or false? In 5 years, verified human will be a paid subscription feature on every major platform.
Dude, I've been thinking about that a lot. I've been thinking about that a lot and even playing around a little bit. Did you see the Shrimp Jesus
swarm? A school of shrimp Jesuses?
Yeah, it's a school of shrimp Jesuses. Because why not? If you have one shrimp Jesus, the school of them is even funnier. I've been thinking about that a lot because in the dead internet theory, it's coming true. You know, Instagram and Meta and whatnot, these are mostly bots and lots of AI influencers now. And you can see that trend happening really quick, man. So I've been really thinking about what the play is here of how to have some sort of, you know, accredited way to verify that it's a human being posting really human stuff. It sounds weird now because most people are going to say, "Oh, I can always tell when it's AI," and I can always. I'm telling you, bro. Like this, you're not. You're just not. And it's already fooling. Right now, when I scroll on Facebook, I can see these AI hot chick influencers, and it's just got 14,000 fucking likes and 3,000 comments by these dudes like, "Hey, you're so good looking," and blah 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 blah. Half of those are bots, first of all, but the other half are just men being easily duped and being a simp for a little AI influencer girl. You know, they're not even a real person. So it's already happening. So I do love the idea of a human only. I wish LinkedIn would do this, by the way.
I know.
You know, it'd be great if you had one kind of soulless, but you know, where it was human copy, human video, human connection, human thought in a kind of a sacred place. I would love that, man. I think that'd be great because that's going to be needed really soon.
Do you think that a new social platform will come out and rise because of this?
Yeah, because I think
that will be successful as successful as what's out there now.
I think they'll be formed in like more community type software or community sort of like arrangements, not necessarily like a social media that we're used to with scrolling like that. I see more of a community sort of thing, hubs or hives sort of thing, where you sort of invited people as like an invite only sort of thing into it, and that's how you can kind of know that you're vetting for each other sort of thing. I can see that being successful in these clicks, let's say, or niches for sure, because the existing platforms have jumped the shark. They've already leaned fully into the AI avatars, AI influencers. They don't want to pay influencers; they can make their own. You know, so they've already jumped the shark completely. So it's not going to happen on the existing platforms. It'll have to be something new.
Got it. Okay. Last question. If you were to look at Google as the library and LLMs as like the librarian, what do you think happens to websites which are referenced as the books? Do you think
they become the back end?
You don't think they become obsolete?
they become the back end for the AIs. So it's no longer the interface isn't being built for the human to go browse it. The interface is being built for the AI to crawl it and serve up the answer to the human that's using the AI. So
and that's where AEO, GEO really comes into play for building your website.
Yeah, personal websites, company websites now need to be thought of just as much for being designed for AI crawlers as they are for human eyes, right? And so like your accordion menus, your drop-down menus, all that kind of stuff that worked well for human beings don't work well for agentic browsers and don't work well for AI crawlers, right? A lot of your data and information is hidden inside of these static PDFs and inside of these collapsible accordion features inside the websites, right? They're not being crawled that way. You can, when you're a human being, you click on it, you open it, you read the FAQ, but when you're an AI, you don't, as an example. So yeah, it needs to be thought of differently, that you have to structure it so the AI can read it thoroughly, cleanly, and then serve up your website as a source of truth and as a source of an answer inside of one of the conversations it's having with your customers.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for being here today. The world as we see fit is changing within seconds. I feel like just every second that goes by, there's something that's happening, something that's changing, something that's being modified. I do believe that no matter what, we're always seeking for truth. And whether it be the signal of noise, it be the signal of being reasonable, I don't think that we should be in a world where we're trying to chase an algorithm. By leveraging these tools and by leveraging the advice that you're sharing with us today, I really believe that we can set apart ourselves as the value-driven person, business, company, because I don't think that there's any better currency in the world better than value and trust and honor. And I understand that's my moral compass, but I truly believe in the term of longevity. You do good business, the law of reciprocity does you well.
It does. I'll even say if you do a business with clarity is the thing. I thought deeply. I know we're going to need to wrap this thing up, buddy. But I was thinking the other day, like, why isn't just good guys that win? You know, why is that not just the thing always? Well, because generally speaking, people have bad intentions are very clear about their bad intentions. They're very clear about their outcome. They don't care who they got to screw over or
that's
the system
really
they got to game. You know, so it's the universe doesn't reward good or bad. The universe rewards clarity, and so does business. Ooh. And so does business.
Yeah.
So a good person might be like, "Oh, I'm not sure. Should I do this? That seems like, you know, should I post this thing? I don't want to be seen this way." Like, there's a lot of like moral sort of decisions being made about it. And when a bad person's like, "No, I want this. I want to get this bag, man. I'm going to post every fucking day. I don't care if I'm cringe. I'm just doing this thing, right?" And not saying good or bad in that way, but you can see what I mean. Clarity versus not. It's not good or bad. The universe doesn't reward good or bad. It rewards clarity. The way I view it. So I just hope a lot of good people are very clear about what they want and they do it in a very good way. But yeah, that's
a great lesson. 1,000%. That's something I'm going to take. I hope everybody took that little lesson, because clarity and being decisive in your choices.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Clarity, conviction. I think you can be clear, but not have conviction, and therefore it's kind of flimsy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so a clarity with a certain conviction, with a certain consistency, that is a really unbeatable strategy, and just hope that's a good one, not a bad one, right? But it isn't a good clarity over a bad clarity that wins. It's the clarity, conviction, and consistency that wins. I just hope that most people use that in a good way. But that seems to be the formula for winning in anything. And you know, I've learned this by not being clear, but having a lot of conviction. Like, there's a lot of people that have a lot of conviction that don't direct it any one way. They direct it in 1,500 different ways. Yeah. And so the clarity, like taking a laser beam, if you have your light, you know, is out like this and it's at a huge angle, or you direct it down and you want to see a certain thing and really be clear on it, like, that takes commitment. You know, it takes self-leadership to do that, but it's hard to make those decisions because you're like, what am I missing out? And what am I not doing? And nope, it's got to be clarity, conviction, and that sort of sense of like, man, I would like to say like submission. I'd like to say understanding that's just not all you, man. that it's a big universe, that you've plugged in to your creator, you've plugged into your community, or you're plugged in somewhere else. You're not sitting on an island. And I'd say that's probably the last ingredient to that makes that really a winning combination is being powered by more than just you.
A collective. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Let that land. Let's wrap it up then, I guess.
All right, man. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in once again. We'll be back next week. Again, if you haven't checked us out, check us out on the interwebs. We're on heyhuzi.buzzsprout.com. We will have a new website coming up. Follow us on all the social medias. And stay tuned for future updates. Thank you so much for being here. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a good day.